80 years is a long time for anything to be in existence, and that's how long Western Kentucky University has been around. And over the years, it's been through many profound changes, but it's always been a center of education and a great place to go to school. Hello, I'm Julie Zell.
And I'm Paula Ponte. We have a story to tell you. It's the story of the 1986-87 school year here at Western Kentucky University. This year was full of people whose presence on campus will be felt for a long time to come.
Unfortunately, we won't be able to recognize everyone who made a contribution to the welfare of Western, but we do hope to take a look at the highlights of '87.
Each new year brings new faces to campus, and this year was no exception. One person who found himself at Western was Dr. Kern Alexander. He was named 7th president by the Board of Regents early in 1986, but his formal inauguration took place here in Van Meter Auditorium in December.
Normally, you will have a president appointed and sworn in. That is the official appointment. But within the first year, you will have an inauguration, which is, in a sense, an announcement, a celebration, a symbolic representation of the shifting of responsibility from a former president to a new president.
A week of activities included various receptions hosted by Western students, faculty, and alumni groups. There was plenty of handshaking and well-wishing and a time for remembering Western's past. The inauguration of the Western leader was marked by the attendance of 3 former governors and current Governor Martha Lane Collins, who said it was good to see a native Kentuckian return home.
We are proud to have such a distinguished scholar and administrator who is Kentucky-born, bred, and educated, now returning to lead one of our premier state universities.
Also attending were 4 former Western presidents representing 30 years of Western leadership. University of Florida System Chancellor Dr. Charles Reed, a former associate of Alexander's, presented the keynote address at the event and said there are certain characteristics the Western president has which make him presidential material.
Kern has the quality of vision. He can see clearly what needs to be done. He knows how to get it done. He has the ability not only to see the forest instead of the trees, he has the larger vision. You need to know the history of the forest and how to protect it in the future. Integrity, personal security, sense of priority, and vision.
Reed challenged Alexander to chart Western's course toward its century mark and to set high standards and accomplish difficult goals. Alexander acknowledged the state and people of Kentucky for providing an educational opportunity enabling him to return to Kentucky, and said educational advancement for the state is in its future.
The benefit that was asserted at Western 80 years ago and continues today is that all children of the state should have an education that would enable them, with honest effort and earnest labor, to be successful and contributing members of society.
It was a proud day for the son of a teacher and the former Deputy State Superintendent of Kentucky Public Schools, and a day of significance for the future of Western Kentucky University.
The university is always changing. Buildings are under repair, potholes are filled, and flowers are planted. New ways are continually being tried to adapt to the changing needs of students, faculty, and staff. Some changes, however, are not so visible. With the arrival of Dr. Alexander, a reshuffling of some of the highest offices in the administration took place. 2 vice presidents and a new athletic director, just to name a few. Although the titles for the people are new, the faces belong to familiar Westerners. One of those faces is that of Dr. Paul Cook. The Executive Vice President for Administrative Affairs said that Western's mission is something that hasn't changed.
The primary missions of Western Kentucky University are in the areas of instruction for undergraduate and graduate students, research in the assigned areas for Western Kentucky University, and public service activities in South Central Kentucky and certain other regions of Kentucky.
Well-known faces in new jobs also included Jimmy Fikes. The man known more for his success on the football field took a brief leave from athletics and spent some time as the Director of Alumni Affairs. He found himself back in athletics when he took over as athletic director. Returning to athletics after resigning as head football coach was not in the Henderson natives' original plans.
When I resigned from football coach and asked for a change in work status, I got away from athletics entirely. The first year intentionally. I didn't want to be around in Coach Roberts' way, and some of my players were still there, and so it was a difficult thing to do, but I divorced myself entirely from the football program particularly, and was teaching full-time, and then I got involved in alumni work, and then when I became alumni director, there was such a conflict in activities. I didn't see but 2 football games in 1984. I didn't see but 1 in 84, saw the opening game, and then I didn't see but 2 in 85. And I was always somewhere else at some kind of alumni meeting when we were playing football or basketball, and really, alumni took me almost out of athletics. And then last spring, when I became the athletics director, I had some really catching up to do.
Catching up is what Fikes did since taking over for John Oldham. The challenges have been there, and keeping up with all sports, not just the major ones, is one area Fikes is learning and enjoying.
A number of outstanding sports, and that I intend to administer the program in a fair and equal way, so that we're not a basketball school, that we do support all of our efforts and depend upon the media to pick up on that. And our cross country is probably one of the more outstanding in Southeast, and we're a great cross country school as far as that goes.
Fikes is also learning that his position is one of administering university policy, but he says that is an area he started learning about as his football coaching career developed. Another change is one that touches every student. She is Frida Eggleton. Maybe her name is not all that familiar, but every student is on her mailing list. She is a university registrar, and although this job was not a specific goal for her, it is one for which she is well trained.
The other jobs that I've held here at Western, I think, have helped in terms of counseling with students. The registrar's office sees a lot of students who come with concerns about not meeting graduation requirements. They've received wrong advice somewhere else at the institution, and they come for counseling. They want to know what can be done to remedy their situation. So I think the experience I've had in my previous jobs, just counseling with students, has prepared me in that respect.
One of those jobs included the development of OAR, that is Orientation, Advisement, and Registration. Eggleton also served as an admission representative, so working with the students is nothing new. So even if you cannot see the changes, everyone is affected by them.
A growth in the student body has 2 sources. One there's an increase in the number of students enrolling, or 2, more students are retained. Both of these are reasons why the number of students increased in the 1986-87 school year. The number of incoming freshmen grew by about 17% in the fall of '86. There were many reasons for this, including incentive grants for out-of-state students and a new push from high school administrators and teachers for students to go on to college. This new appreciation for college came about due to the university representatives going to high schools throughout the state and talking with administrators and teachers. Not only the number of freshmen increased, with a new push for the non-traditional student, Western's part-time population grew as well. Extended campus offerings increased in number and locations around Bowling Green, giving the non-traditional student more access to a college-level education. This was one area in which Dr. Alexander wanted to attract more students to Western.
We believe that we've got to respond to a movement in this country that says that students will no longer be full-time. All students will not be full-time students. They'll be part-time students. And Western, we're moving rapidly. We're trying to adjust and adapt our programs so that a person can go to school on the weekend, a person can go to school at night, a person can attend a program that is offered at variable times, at times which were not traditionally set aside as university residential programs. This part-time student, we think, is going to be a major aspect of all universities of the future, and it will be here at Western as well.
Besides an increase in enrollment, Western was able to retain more students. By improving educational opportunity and supporting the faculty, the administration encouraged more students who came here as freshmen to stay and earn a degree. Western is at the forefront of enrollment management in the state. By coordinating all phases of student recruitment and retention, Western will be able to attract students from all over the state and the region. Effective communication is the key to this tremendous growth. The message is that Western exists to offer the best education possible to any person who wishes to have it. And this direction of Western is coming from the top office.
To provide an opportunity for all youth of the Commonwealth to develop their innate capacities to the maximum extent possible. To expand the borders of the campus, to bestow the beneficence and the energies of the university on every family of the state.
For several years prior to 1986, enrollment had been falling off here at Western, which was a concern to every office on campus. Unneeded residence halls were closed and extra classes were canceled. And when that trend was reversed in the fall of 1986, one goal of the administration under Alexander was being realized.
So ever since Dr. Alexander has come here, that has been his #1 message, is to increase the college-going rate of Kentucky students. And he's done a lot in terms of going out to talk with high school administrators, to get the idea of going to college before the school personnel as well as the student.
All these new faces put a slight strain on the housing office as an increase of 10% marched onto campus. The dorms were at 96% capacity. Even one floor of Potter Hall was reopened to ease the crowding.
The day before we opened the halls, we did completely reach capacity for men, and I started a waiting list. And in a period of about a week, we put almost 50 people on that waiting list.
Of course, the influx of students meant more cars to squeeze into the limited number of parking places. Anyone who didn't arrive at least 1 hour before class faced a long walk up the hill.
We use a couple of parking lots on campus for gauge, and that's Dill Arena parking lot, the parking structure, and Russell Road lot. There are more cars in the Russell Road lot this year than at this time in previous years, which is an indicator that there are more cars being parked on campus.
Yes, more cars were being parked on campus, but the number of legal spaces remained painfully low. The temptation to circumvent the rules was never greater. That is when the student patrol became a force to be reckoned with.
The student patrol's primary function is enforcement of parking regulations. Usually, people are pretty nice. You know, if you're just now putting a ticket on their windshield, you know, they're not going to say anything unless it's under their breath after you've walked away. There has been one instance where a gentleman got pretty hot when he saw me putting a ticket on his windshield. He had a few choice words to say to me in a very loud manner.
While the housing office was dealing with where to put all the new students, the Office of Student Life was dealing with what to do with them. The office was reorganized to better meet the needs of the students.
And we've taken on the responsibility of programming and inter-hall council. So for the first time in Western's history, residence hall staffing and hall government and programming are under one person and coordinated by one office.
By sponsoring more and smaller events, Tim Harper and University Center Board hope to attract a wider range of students.
We did concentrate on smaller scaled programs to make our dollar stretch as far as we could. We thought that we could entertain a wider variety of the student body if we did a variety of different types of programs throughout the year, as opposed to sponsoring, say, 2 or 3 lavish, extravagant programs that might not appeal to a majority of the student body.
This new approach, along with more programming conducted in the residence halls themselves, enabled the university to directly address what the students wanted.
We finalized our marketing study, which the Department of Housing worked on, and we've got a better idea of what students' needs and wants are, and I think we're addressing those. More and more you see some of the wants that students have, for instance, cable TV, laundries, issues that the housing office works with directly. I think people will remember this year, the year that students' wants and needs were more directly addressed than any years in the past.
We've tried to do programs. We've had programs on relationships, on love and trust, on study skills, team building, resume writing, interviewing skills, how to dress for an interview, how to not dress for an interview.
We try to work every way that we possibly can to see that they're satisfied, they give the competitiveness they want in campus recreation, and at their leisure time, again, that we give them the facilities and the use of our facilities here for their leisure time recreation.
With so many people on campus, it meant more people involved with the already popular Greek system. No, this is not a new version of the Gong Show. It's called Greek Week. And what is that? Well, it's a week of activities designed to bring cohesiveness to the Greek system on campus. It's a chance for the different chapters to get to know one another through a variety of competitive and service-oriented events.
Sunday night we moved into water games, and Monday was spring sing and the banner contest. Tuesday was blood drive and Greek feud. Wednesday was a faculty tea, blood drive, and Greek feud. Tuesday night we had a movie night. Wednesday night we had a party at Doodles. And Thursday we had penny toss and bed race. And Friday was tug of war. And then Sunday was the finals of softball. We tried to add some new events to get everything out ahead of time so people knew what was going on. We tried to lower the competition and increase the PR on campus. Yeah, we had a good time, and we had very few arguments or discrepancies because we had a committee, a steering committee, to help out. That they went over the rules, they reviewed them, they did any changes that they wanted to make on them, and they handled all the complaints. So it was more take a little bit of the burden off of me and my co-chairman. Spring singing that's another real traditional. When it started out years ago with just a choir formation, and then people started adding hand motions, and somebody else would come out and do like a solo, and it's just gotten so involved, and it takes a lot of practice for a lot of different chapters, and that's probably the thing that costs the most money for the chapters going in. The bed race is just 3 years old, I believe. It's 3 or 4 years old. They started that just as an additional event, just something fun that somebody heard about from another school. It was a mattress marathon, I believe, at U of L, that we took the rules from that and changed them a little bit, modified them, and every year somebody finds something that's wrong with somebody's bed, so we have to clarify it and the rules a little bit better. But it's been quite successful. We always have problems with beds falling apart because people make them the night before in about 10 minutes. There's a lot of strategy. When I first got down here and I heard tug of war, I imagined people standing up and pulling on a rope. But there's a lot of technique in the digging of the holes and everything, and it was a lot more than I ever expected.
Western's Homecoming 1986 activities had a Canadian flair this year. The theme was Oh Canada, Get to Know Your Neighbor. It was an opportunity to learn more about Canada's culture, plus the official beginning of the new Canadian Studies program. The Homecoming Week activities began with a visit from Canadian General Consul Sidney Harris, who presented Dr. Alexander with the first of many books from his country. Big Red's Roar marked the beginning of the Homecoming weekend activities.
In the past, the Homecoming Queen had always been crowned at the football game on Homecoming Saturday. But this year they crowned the Queen at the Big Red's Roar event, which was moved outside this year. In the past, we'd done it in Diddle Arena. And we had a little bit larger turnout, and the show seemed to go over real well with the comedian that we had this year and things such as that.
Whitney Auslander, a junior mass communications major from Louisville, was crowned the 1986 Homecoming Queen. Kathy Brown and Caroline Miller, both from the Louisville area, tied as first runner-up.
I was nervous and excited. I felt privileged enough just to be a candidate. And I campaigned very hard, and I had lots of my friends help me. My mother came down that night for the pep rally, and she went with me. And of course, you know how mothers are. She was saying, "Oh, you'll do fine, you'll do fine." And they announced the winner, and like I told someone else who was asking me some questions about it, I said I felt like I was on a cloud. I felt like I was looking at that evening that I wasn't even there. So that's something I'll definitely remember forever. So that was very exciting, especially for me.
Many receptions for various alumni groups were held during the weekend. The Homecoming Court was honored during the parade and presented the football game which pitted Western against Division I AA national champion Georgia Southern. The result of the game was not to Western's liking, but that did not dampen the festive mood of homecoming.
Basketball is the single most attended sport at Western, and this year gave fans even more to cheer about. But who were those people who worked out day after day at Diddle Arena? Mason and Cammie Thomas were gone, but other players emerged in leadership roles for the 1986-87 women's basketball team. One player in particular was Clemmette Haskins, who this year surpassed her father, Clem Haskins, in career points scored.
To tell you the truth, I really didn't think that much about it, earlier in the year, and I'd gotten hurt and it slowed me down a little, and a few of the fans and people were like, you only have 100 left and you only have 89 today, and they kept on and kept on, and it kind of bothered me for a while, but then I had to get back down to the basics and play basketball and win games, and it's hard. You can't think about scoring records and assist records and things like that when you're playing the game. And I got back to the basics and tried to win ball games, and then the record came. We were playing Murray State University, and I knew that I had like 16 at half and I needed 22, and I wasn't calculating them, but it was kind of in the back of my mind.
Clemmette was a senior this year and found herself the point guard of a relatively young ball club.
We lost 4 starters, and we kind of had to start from scratch, and anytime you lose great players, Lily Mason, Cammie Thomas, and on down the line, then you have to rebuild. And even though people looked at us as not rebuilding because I was back, we really were, because we had a lot of young people that had not played before, and even players that were sophomores and juniors still didn't get to play that much because we had such a great front line.
Dreams of reaching the NCAA Final Four for a record 3rd year in a row nearly faded when Clemmette was injured in mid-season.
It definitely hampered us quite a bit. I've been at Western 4 years and I played a lot of games, and I was hurt my freshman year for a couple weeks, and that's the only other time I've been hurt in my whole career. And then when this injury came, we were playing Texas, and it was we were like down 6 at halftime, and I hurt it like 30 seconds, hurt my knee 30 seconds before halftime, and I didn't think it was that bad. And I think the team, anytime you lose the point guard from a team, it doesn't matter who it is, it's going to hurt the team, because they are the person that knows what's going on and tells you go here and you go there. And I think it affected us, and might have cost us a few games down the road.
But even with the injury, she was able to lead the team and set the record for most assists in a career, as well as surpass her dad.
But I think it's time now to get out on my own and see what Clemmette Haskins can do for Clemmette Haskins. And it's going to be a big change, but I'm ready to face that now.
Unlike the women, the men's team not only had 4 seniors returning, but 4 starters returning. The season looked bright and the results lived up to the expectations. There was a new coach, Murray Arnold, who found the players ready to accept their roles.
I think the thing that was most gratifying about being a first-year coach in this situation was how readily this somewhat senior-dominated team accepted the things we asked of them.
We knew what we had to do, and whoever was coaching, it really wouldn't make a difference, how we would play, because we all accepted our roles.
And it was players like Tellis Frank and Brian Asbury who made the year a great one.
We win 29 basketball games, win 2 tournament championships, win a conference title. Yes, I think it really was a dream season. But maybe just as importantly were not only the team achievements that we were able to accomplish, but looking back and seeing so many of our players have by far their absolute best seasons ever. To see Tellis Frank go from being a part-time starter as a junior to Sun Belt Conference Player of the Year and a probable first-round NBA draft pick. To see Kennard Johnson have the best season of his career, to lead the Sun Belt Conference in rebounding, to shoot 60% from the floor, 85% from the line of the league, and to be a first-team all-conference selection and a Western Kentucky co-MVP. To see Clarence Martin have the most productive offensive season of his career, along with having a lot of block shots and being one of the leading rebounders in the league. To see a senior Brian Asbury play so well, coming off the bench to make an all-tournament team in Hawaii, off the bench, to start 3 or 4 key games when Clarence was hurt, including the conference game that won us the championship against Jacksonville, and then for Brian to finish his career with a 22-point performance against Syracuse in the Carrier Dome.
The season did have its ups and downs, but the fans were treated to some of the best basketball to be played here in years. And although Western did not win the Sun Belt Tournament Championship, they proved they were a great ball club.
Since we played 38 games and earned the NCAA bid by playing 36 in 103 days, we had, I guess, some ebbs and flows. Certainly it was a terrific thrill to start the way we did and do as well as we did in the NIT. We had some times in December we didn't play as well as we would like. But when we got ready for conference play, we came off, candidly, probably a subpar performance at Butler, and then a loss at Eastern Kentucky, and we really were at a crisis stage. We had to turn around and play well, and we were able to bounce back, beat UAB to start the Sun Belt Conference play. We beat them, beat Virginia Commonwealth on the road, and then lost a tough one at Jacksonville, and turned around after that and won 10 consecutive Sun Belt Conference games in order to clinch the conference championship. And every time we faced adversity, our guys were able to bounce back and play extremely well in the next crucial game.
They proved themselves off the court as well.
Because I don't know how long my longevity in basketball would be, my career in the NBA would be. I might play a year, I might play 10 years, but if I get that piece of paper, I have that for the rest of my life. That's one thing they can't take away from me. They can take away playing the basketball, take away me being on a basketball team, but they can never take away that degree I'm going to receive.
Every sporting event has many of the same features. They all have participants, coaches, and officials of some sort. But there's another very visible aspect that many people take for granted. They are cheerleaders. At Western, there are 2 squads, and because of the success of the basketball teams, both squads had an opportunity to show the Western spirit to much of the nation.
We visited Norfolk, Virginia twice, because that's where Old Dominion University is, and that's also where the Women's Sun Belt is held in the first week of March. Then we also got to travel this year to Los Angeles, California for the first round of the West Regional out in Los Angeles at USC.
During the NIT, we went to New York City, which was fabulous. It was huge, it was busy, and we really had a great time. A lot of us went shopping at different places. Jennifer and I went shopping during thrift stores, and then we had to go into Macy's and places like that. We just really took in all the sights, the RCA building, and we spent one night where we went out on the streets, which I've never seen anything like it. It was nothing like Bowling Green. So. And then, of course, in the NCAA finals, Syracuse, it was beautiful. It was totally opposite from New York City. It was quiet. The campus was gorgeous.
Each year, the squads try new things to make the games more fun for the crowd and the players.
One thing that we did this year that hasn't been done in the past was that we had a secret pal. Each member on the squad had a lady topper, and throughout the year we got them little gifts like little teddy bears, shirts, cards, mugs, and gave it to them right before the game. And we hoped that would kind of encourage them to go out and do a little bit better.
Being a full-time cheerleader for a university with as much exposure as Western received is not all fun and games. Hours of practice are required to enable the individual pairs to execute difficult moves.
We don't lift weights, which a lot of people think that we should, because once the squad has been picked, we meet 3 to 4 times a week for an hour and a half a day, and we stunt with each other. That's when the guys throw the girls in the air and catch them in the positions that they do. And when you work out with someone for an hour and a half every day, the average this year on our Lady Topper squad was about 118. When you're throwing 118 pounds around an hour and a half a day, you really don't have to do, as far as the guys, don't have to do that much more. The girls go to aerobics classes so that their legs and their stamina will be up, because they do a lot more really during a game than the guys do, because they have to two-step and they have to do motions where the guys just yell out of the megs.
But working for hours at a time, week after week, can put a strain on even the best of friends. But it is this closeness which enables the squads to work so well together.
And the closer we get, the better we work together. And it's a lot easier when you work together. Your practices go along smoother, what you do in the games go along smoother. As long as we kept that family attitude, we were right there.
The cheerleaders do more than just practice and perform their routines. Because of their high visibility, they become ambassadors for the university, especially for away games. They also make life on the road a little easier for the players.
Yes, spring came to campus as it did every year. And every year there are a new class of graduates who receive diplomas for all levels of accomplishments.
Diddle Arena, the site of so many great memories this year, was once again witness to commencement ceremonies for over 2,100 people who received their degrees.
This brings us to the close of the story of the 1986-87 school year.
We hope Western's 80th year will be remembered as a productive one, which saw many good people demonstrate their ideas and abilities. From Western Kentucky University, I'm Julie Zell.
And I'm Paul Aponte.